It's Ali from Local Knowledge and BD Outdoors here, doing this little piece with the AFCO. I want to talk about getting the best quality for sushi out of our bluefin tuna. Now, unless you've been under a rock, you know for the last 5 or 6 years, we've had this incredible run of these giant bluefin tuna off of our coast here. This run hasn't happened in 100 years, and it's awesome because it's got so many people stoked on catching these great fish and also, of course, learning how to prepare these great fish. Bluefin tuna is the king of the tuna family when you talk about sushi. When you see all those crazy numbers in the Tokyo fish market, somebody paid $1 million for this fish, it's always bluefin. And the reason is because of the fat that's contained in it. It gives it a rich, buttery texture that the other fish don't have. So if you're fishing out of San Diego, whether you're on a charter boat, party boat, whatever, you're gonna know these tags right here, and these are from your processor. We have the awesome option of taking our whole fish, and in a lot of cases, they'll pick it up right from your party boat and having it processed where they chop it all up into perfect fish market, looking pieces and vacuum seal it for you in these heavy duty bags. I use Sportsman Seafood. They've treated me great for years, but there's also a couple of other local vendors that are just as awesome. So what I wanted to show you was sort of the difference in the cuts and how to properly cut your fish for sushi. I see people on the internet all the time doing horrible things to fish in the name of sushi, and it really drives me insane. And it's just from a lack of knowledge, and hopefully this will help you along. There's 2 different ways that you would traditionally cut fish in order to make sushi, and the 2 different cuts completely change the texture of the fish and the umami or the feel or whatever you want to call it immensely. And these go back, I don't know how many thousands of years with the Japanese eating raw fish. So there's 2 different cuts that you'll get. This is obviously this piece right here is a slice that came off the loin. This is just one little section of a fish that was this long. I mean, you're gonna get, if you catch a big 200 pounder, you're gonna get a massive amount of fish. Now, if you don't ask, normally they'll just give you the fish this way, because this is how you would normally grill it as a steak or sear it and then slice it or whatever you wanna do. If you ask them for loin chunks for sushi and tell them how big, you could say, I want 2-pound loin chunks. Now this piece right here is probably 8 or 10. I mean, this is a dinosaur example, but the way that you cut the fish after you get it home and the way you're gonna use it will determine what you wanna give the processor in terms of instruction. So with bluefin, we never cook it. We might sear it sometimes, but that's all we do. I think it's really best eaten raw. When you cut a fish for sashimi, you wanna cut it against the grain. So you can see the grain right here. You wanna cut that at a 90-degree angle to this, right? Now look at this piece I have here. I can't cut this really at a 90-degree angle. Sure, I could get in here and use my hand, and it's probably gonna come out ugly and nasty. So instead, what you want is a little bit longer section of fish that you can then break down. Now, the first thing that a sushi chef will do if he's buying a whole fish, he'll do what they call blocking out the fish. And it's just like it sounds. You're just gonna make blocks out of this big chunk of filet. So like the first thing they're gonna wanna do is make this thing square. And when I say square, I mean there's no room for this triangle piece on top, basically. So they're gonna take this and they're gonna just kind of square off the edge, top edge of that. Now, this fish is far from throwaway. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. It just doesn't fit into the package that you really want. But sometimes if you've eaten enough sushi like I have, you'll notice that your sashimi will come either in a square or a triangle. The reason you see it in a triangle is because of this. They took the top cut off, they cut it like this against the grain. I'm running out of cutting board space here with that dinosaur fillet, but you can see it's against the grain, right? And what that's gonna do is it's just gonna give you that melt in your mouth kind of flavor. And so after they block this thing out, they'll just you'll see them start stacking these on a plate. And I'll just put them here for now. So now he's got this cut like this. He's gonna come through again and try to keep everything really proportional. And I am no sushi chef, but I do know the right technique. But you're gonna come across like this, okay? Now you've got another gigantic block. And again, look at that. You don't wanna eat that giant grain right there. It's not gonna give you that good flavor. It's not gonna just melt apart. You're gonna end up with these giant bites of giant slices, which you don't want. Okay, and then he's gonna come through again and he's gonna skin this filet. And you can have the processor remove the skin. I had him leave it on in this case just to better illustrate, and also it holds the fish together better in my opinion. Not everybody agrees on that, but I think it really does keep the filet in better shape. Okay, so now we've got massive block. even more massive block. Okay, this is skin, this is trash. We're gonna throw that away. Wipe our hands down a little bit. Now let's start with this pretty manageable piece right here. Again, depending on the restaurant and how they like to serve it, they'll cut this different ways. Let's make ourselves a good block for sashimi. Remember, this is head of the fish, tail of the fish. This is lengthwise on the loin, if that makes sense. Okay, now he's gonna cut this into a sashimi size block, which is usually 1 inch by 2 inches, somewhere like that. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Get this other massive piece out of my way. Now it's starting to take shape, right? And it's starting to look like a perfect block. Now, if you're going for points, for style and impressing your friends, you can see it got a little angle cut there. Just cut this off. Any trimming that you do when you're breaking down one of these loins, save it. You can chop it up later. You can put in some mayo, some sriracha, a little bit of garlic salt. You got spicy tuna. Make rolls out of it, have it on the side to complement whatever you're making for sushi. But it really is, none of this should go to waste. It's great stuff. Okay, you can see here now, it's actually starting to look like a little log of sashimi. So just try and make really even cuts. Use a very sharp knife. A sashimi knife with a one-sided bevel is really the way to go. It pushes the fish away as it cuts it, and it gives you the cleanest possible cuts. Again, not a sushi chef, I just play one on the internet. Now look at what you get. Perfect little sashimi bites, right? All blocked out, looks just like you'd see at your restaurant. Beautiful, fresh. This fish was 2 days old, caught. That's how you cut fish for sashimi. Now, let me show you the other way. The other way would be Ngiri style. And Ngiri means fish on rice, basically. Okay, I can take, this is that same cut that we just used for sashimi, right? We cut it against the grain, and I've got a chunk left that's, what do you know, about the same size as the length of a piece of rice that you'd put the fish on. Maybe just a little bit too big. Let me come through here, make one more sashimi block. Okay, now we've got our super killer, delicious little bits of sashimi here that your friends are gonna devour in about 2 seconds, right? And now we made up some rice. Now there's a million recipes online for sushi rice. There's this powdered seasoning you can put in it, really cheap, really easy, can't miss. And that's how we make it at my house. We just use the rice powder. You get it on Amazon, you can get it at your specialty markets, anywhere like that. Now, in order to make the nigiri, we're gonna cut it the opposite direction. So sashimi was this way, remember, lengthwise on the fish, head here, tail here. Turn it sideways. Now this is the side of the fish. And we basically be cutting from, you know, whatever, the armpit down to the belly, if you want to imagine that. Now again, just long, smooth cuts through here. I like to push the knife forward and then just pull it back, forward, and then pull it back, and trying to keep everything really even so it looks as good as I can possibly get it. And now you've got these beautiful little cuts for nigiri. Lays on the piece of rice just like that. It curves to conform to the rice, and now you're gonna eat it this way, just like you would this against the grain as you bite into it. And I see so many guys cut the fish the wrong way. Look, it's all delicious, don't get me wrong, but if you really wanna get sophisticated about it and serious about it, this is the correct way to cut fish for sushi and sashimi. And again, the bluefin tuna was just designed for this. It's got so much fat, it's got such a good steak type flavor to it. It really, really lends itself to being the best possible raw fish to eat. That's it in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out our channel for some other tips on cutting, handling, and recipes for your catch.